Hello everyone. I'm going over, or I'm looking at an old Minecraft base that I built on a server. From what I could find, this base was built between late 2021 all the way up until looked like the latest screenshot I had was from March of 2023. And yeah, there's not much else that I have to say about it. It's not a very practical base, to put it simply. I'm not sure what order I'm going to go through things in, but I'm thinking I might go from like least complete all the way up to most complete. So I think an appropriate starting point is actually over here through all this stuff. Out this door just into the ocean down here. This one might not actually be the least complete, but it's the least complete that's easy to access. I'm not gonna have to do any cuts or anything. But this was going to be a casino and hotel sort of area. I mostly just built to kind of just keep building stuff, which is probably part of why I was one of the last active members on this server. If this video gets enough feedback, I might go over some of the other bases that were on here. Maybe with the people who built them, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, so one of the issues that I ran into with this hotel, and just this building in general, was all of these corners. Some of them, I actually had the pillars and they looked okay. Other ones like this one, I'm not 100% sure how I would have done it. I might have just kept extending this all the way up, and then actually I think that was the plan, and then I just kind of forgot about this entire section. But what I was thinking for this was I would have the rooms, I guess, I'm not 100% sure. I would have had the rooms on this outside area, and then the actual casino-ish area on the inside, like in this cave, because there is a cave system behind this wall. So I got the world file for this server from the guy who actually ran it. And I guess to put it simply, we ended up just, well, I ended up stopping because he took this server offline so that we could do an amplified survival thing. And then that ended up kind of going nowhere because we had another server planned, but anyway, I would have built the casino area in this cave, or on top of this cave, so that it didn't have any windows, much like most real casinos do. And I would have just had this area reserved for like a bar, hotel sort of area. But yeah, that's pretty much all this area was. My inventory is kind of just an assortment of random stuff, mostly building materials for stuff that I never really got done with. And this is where this tunnel leads off to. There was going to be other stuff over here, and then I just kind of stopped building out this way. And then I just put this sign up because I thought it was funny. The next section, in terms of like incomplete areas, I guess, is this. The reason I call this an incomplete area is because I've got 3 buildings on here, but only one of them actually has more than one floor, and the copper didn't fully oxidize. So this one, it has, I think, most of its floors done. Yeah, it looks like it's got most of its floors done, and then I just stopped here, and the server shut down. But the other ones have nothing past the first floor. But yeah, I'm just gonna fly over it again real quick just to show you a full view of it. Yeah, so it got cut short kind of early on, or not quite early on because I was most of the way done with it. And then, yeah, just kind of ended up not getting done with all the floors in the buildings and doing any furniture sort of stuff. Let's see the next one. There's another one that was incomplete over here. Not that one. I think that might actually be close to everything that was incomplete over here. Oh, wait, no. Not there. It's been a while since I played on this server. I don't remember what exactly was done and what wasn't. Yeah, this one was gonna be like a small motel or something. Yeah, so I never really built anything in here. It was briefly an area where I had set aside for just like a bed and stuff, and kind of built it up to have like a modern house look. And then just took it all down, and I was gonna put like a hotel with like a vending machine. And I just set up this stupid ass vending machine sort of thing in the lobby. And it was just kind of stupid. Yeah, that's it for unfinished projects in the base itself that were all connected to everything. I'm gonna go take a look at some of the other stuff in no particular order that's not directly connected to the base before I get to the more finished projects. Alright, so I decided to set the game mode to creative just so I could fly and not have to deal with Elytra stuff. And also just enabled cheats in general. So this was a cliff house that I was building a good distance away from the base, just so that I could build something that wasn't underwater. There's no real nether connections or anything, and it's not built on like a I guess completely set grid structure like my main base, just so I could have a little bit more freedom. And this was just kind of a side project that I did and then just kind of abandoned after a while to keep building up the base as a sort of, I guess, city. Was originally going to bring some villagers over to the base, and then just kind of, yeah, the server ended up kind of dying out after that, or before I could do any of that. This is one of my more common block palettes that's not the red concrete and everything. One of my less resource intensive ones. It's spruce and dark oak and smooth stone, as well as deep slate for the floors, but that's just kind of a general one. And there's this nice cave section. I'm not really sure what I was going to do over here, but I built this. I was going to build a room or something over there. And then I built this little dock section just because I thought it was neat. And yeah, I'm playing on the mod pack that we used for the server. It was mostly just client-side stuff, so you can still join with the vanilla client. As you can probably tell just from this, I enjoy using lanterns quite a bit in my builds. And there's a small exit to the cave just down here, just so that dock was still useful. But yeah, I used to take a lot of screenshots of stuff with shaders, so just to give you a bit of an idea of what this area would have looked like through the shaders. I'll do this for some of the other sections of the base. This is not the same set of shaders I used. This is just one that I had installed when I was looking at others. I ended up moving the other ones that I used to another pack, so I can keep using the same exact settings. But these ones I figured were close enough just for this video. I didn't feel like searching through my packs to find the ones that I used back in the day. Yeah. Probably gonna go back and cut a section just so I can, like, after I show off this. Yeah, this is one of the less interesting areas with shaders. Yeah, I'm gonna go look at another section that was built in a cave. So yeah, I'm gonna cut to that. Alright, so there's another section down here in one of the caves. This was pretty close to where I was doing most of my normal mining. We'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, this was supposed to just be a small area that I was building just because I got a little bit bored of building above the surface. And then there's just a small nether portal over here so that I could get to and from here a little bit easier than just swimming down into the cave, because this was a survival server. So we mostly just used the nether for transport up until the server owner coded something that allowed us to just teleport with beacons. Unfortunately, I don't have that installed on here because that was a server-side thing. So I can't just do that. But yeah, this never even got to a point where I started draining it. No, it didn't even get to a point where it had a roof for most of it. All the particle effects. So, funny story. I sent a screenshot of this because these were actually causing problems on one of my older computers. And they were just getting annoying. I sent a screenshot to my friend who owns the server. He sent a message to the developer, I think developer, and asked them if they could tone down the particles created by sea lanterns. Because I'll see if I can find the screenshot and put it in the video. But it was, to put it simply, it was a little bit insane just how bad it was. Anyway, I think I'm gonna go back to the main base and we can start looking at some of that again. Some of the more finished stuff, I should say. Alright, so I'm back over at the main base. We already talked about that floating platform. It's not really, well, I think it is still floating, but I was going to start building supports. That never happened. Actually, one of my favorite things about this build, in particular, was I did a glass elevator just because I got bored. And it has this tunnel that connects everything together. This was going to go further out, and I think end at a... Oh. So this was phase 2 of a project that I was building. So I called this base Joshania. There's a somewhat long story behind that. But this was phase 2, I think, of what I called the Joshania Vertical Expansion Project, which was, I guess, to put it simply, a way to put use more vertical space for the entire base, and have sections that were above water, below ground. The cave base was not part of that. That was its own separate thing. This structure right here, this small little thing, and this were phase 1. I think this was also technically a part of phase 1. We'll get to this in a little bit. But this tunnel, or maybe the other one, I don't remember off the top of my head. But this one was going to lead to a tower that went all the way from bedrock to the build limit. That's not really important right now. What I do want to show now is this. This was the bee dome, which I used to get beeswax, and I think I was going to get honey at some point with it. But yeah, I mostly use this for beeswax so I could get waxed copper. I'll show you in a second what that was going to be for. But yeah, this is another section of the base that looks, in my opinion, pretty good with shaders. Fortunately, not the right settings to get like a really good visual, because these aren't shaders that I used for very long. These were just kind of used in my sort of messing around with shaders, trying to find a good way to have them, or a way to have them look good. Unfortunately, very few of them you can see the water. It just doesn't look that good through the glass. Now this was a project that I started entirely out of boredom one day. This was the central sort of hub. And it would have been centered around a netherite beacon, which, as you can see, I got to level 2. I might show off some of my mines later, because they're huge and absolutely insane. I had a level 4 beacon. I think it's level 4 is the maximum. Yeah, a level 4 beacon of everything except netherite. And I think maybe gold or diamond? No, this one was full. Because I did a lot of mining just to make this work. So I had this, because this one would teleport you pretty much right to spawn. And this is the sign that you'd see when you're coming out. So I'll probably explain Joe in a little bit, but this was a direct line to another one of my friends who I was working with, who built what he called Joeville, which was sort of a company city for a fake brand that he created, just to have like a stupid thing for his Blender projects. It was a fake designer brand, primarily of like clothes and stuff. There's that tunnel. I would have had 4 tunnels going out from this one. I only had 3 that I built, and then 1 door. I've got this tower. These ones are down. These are up. I don't... What the hell was on that side? Oh, I just put something on that one. Yeah, so it had 2 down elevators, 2 up, and just stairs, because I mostly just used soul sand elevators. And this is what I was using the waxed copper for. A second layer of paths. I would have had a third one like above the surface if I had it, or a third one if I had the space for it. And this was just kind of unfinished, a small little observation deck thing. This kind of went nowhere, because really, where do you go with this? Oh, this is not the observation deck. This is the... I completely forgot about this tower. I don't know how I could have forgotten about that, but I did. But yeah, that tower is just kind of there. So is this one. But this one has, I guess, something going for it. Not much, but it's more than nothing. I'm trying to avoid breaking anything on this, because I know it is my copy of the world, and I can just make a duplicate if I really wanted to. I don't really want to, because this world's 5 point, like, I think extracted it was like 7 gigs. But it has this, going for it. There's not much to say about it. I'm just gonna stand in the corner and just turn on shaders real quick. Again, I took a lot of screenshots of this base with shaders, to the point where there were a decent number of people in the Discord chat associated with my base who probably didn't see it without shaders. But yeah, this was just a thing that I built so I had more of a presence above the surface of the water. Same goes for a lot of this stuff. The bee domes were interesting, or the bee dome, I should say, was something that I set up because I started building a dome and I realized it went above the water, so why not just set up a hole in the top so that I have more air coming into the base, and an easy way to just... This was before I had that central building complete, like to a point where I could just launch out the top and I had more like normal tunnels running through it, I think. Don't remember off the top of my head. I'll put a note in the video, in like the actual, that just shows if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how it was. But yeah, this tower, as you can see, there's like nothing in it. A lot of this, it was just built and then I was like, I'll put something in it later. Like this, I was gonna put like tables or something up here and just have like a lounge. Yeah. And I had an idea, back when I was building this, I was gonna have a bunch of the intersections just be That was the wrong way. A bunch of the intersections just be domes, like this one. Where I'd have a small patch of like grass and stuff and trees. Because this is how I got most of my wood. I didn't have like a surface base to go to, or islands nearby that I could just easily chop wood from that was in the same distance to, or in the render distance, so I couldn't just like I couldn't AFK there safely. This was so I could AFK and just cut down a dark oak tree and have the wood and then redo it or plant it and then have a new one. And this is the larger of my two farms. Mostly sugarcane, carrots for golden carrots, potatoes for baked potatoes. Golden carrots were just if I had an excess surplus of gold and I could just make a bunch of those. This was kind of my main food source alongside wheat. And then beets just because I was using a lot of red dye, so this would help make that possibility. This was so I could have a good source of sugarcane so I could make more firework rockets. I didn't have a creeper farm, so I would occasionally, in the later days of the server, when I was the only one playing, I would steal from the creeper farm that was actually on the server, owned by the owner. Because, again, I was really the only one playing. And there's this, which I used as my main launch point until that was completed for Elytra. And I have a dog here. And this was going to be a rooftop bar. I have a lot of bars on this server. In this base, presumably because I'm Midwestern and we're all alcoholics here. I actually think there was going to be a joke building that I set aside that was just going to be all bars, and it was going to be like 5 or 6 floors of just bars, because there's this one, which was one of the main buildings. I might use this as a thumbnail, but just because, why the hell not? I might actually just use a normal screenshot without the shaders. But yeah, this was one of the first like major buildings that I completed. This has pretty much everything in it that I originally set out. All of these pets they have my name tag on them because that was something that we did just to be able to identify who owned what pet, and, or you could put a name tag on it as usual. But yeah, originally I was going to fill these with various things. Because the whole joke about this bar having drinks, it was all potions of various effects. And then there's one that was like illegal drinks, and it was just like straight up poison. And there was another one in there, instant harming, I think. And one of my friends actually drank himself to death in the bar on the like original server. I might put some screenshots of that bar in the video, just to show off what it looked like, because it wasn't really that special. It was still, in my opinion, still interesting, because it's, again, in my stupid, useless opinion, it's interesting looking back at the history of my build style and seeing how it evolved and where it came from and where certain ideas, because I've consistently had something like this in pretty much every base that I've had. even on the somewhat shorter-lived server that came about after this. I had something very similar to this. I might put some screenshots of that in, because it was larger. It was built around a structure that was added in through a mod. That was basically just a giant skeleton. But it was still underwater, and it was much deeper. But yeah, this lower level was for something that me and my other friend, who actually created the Joe company, we called this the Burn in Lava Society Lounge, and you could only enter this one if you had lost a certain amount of items to lava. It had to be an item of certain value, and you had to have lost it in an accident, I guess, to put it simply. Because if you just threw a valuable item in, we didn't count that. Actually, I think this one, it was you had to die in lava and lose something. Because there was one where you just had to die in lava. I put deep slate coal in this aquarium because I had some. I tried to sell it. Nobody wanted to buy it. And then that, just because I wanted some color in there. And this is the main aquarium of the bar. But yeah, this was one of the first big projects I completed. And this one, I'm gonna look at the screenshot folder real quick. Let's see. The first screenshot I have of this base is from December of 2021, and it's the very first section of wall. But yeah, it actually went pretty quickly in terms of construction of the first decently sized part of the base. Let's see, where is it? I'm trying to find. Okay, I actually had that area that I was going to turn into a hotel that started out as a bit of a house as far back as December of 2021. Anyway, that's not really too important. I was looking for where the construction of the bar started, because I had another portal room that I haven't really shown off yet. I'll show that real quick. Over here, smaller of the two farms, this was what carried me through a decent chunk of the early game. I know it's not technically optimal. As you can probably tell by the base, I really don't care about optimal that much. This was the nether portal room that I had. Much smaller than the original concepts that I had, but it served its purpose. And I put netherite blocks up here just as a bit of a flex. They were originally emerald, but I thought that worked better for some reason. I have a bunch of cats just spread around the base. All of this was my storage. But yeah, these were kind of just going to be the general intersections and just small resource points. This one, I don't remember when we started calling it the Trome, but we did. But yeah, and that was an idea that never really took off, because even with a mod called Mini HUD, building domes was just a pain in the ass and just too resource intensive, so I just went with standard cross and T intersections. And I was going to have sets of chainmail because I basically had sets of chainmail, except for this one, which wasn't complete. Yeah, I think the earliest screenshot I have of what would eventually become the bar was from December 14th of 2021. And it was before I settled on sea lanterns as my main light source. So I started the bar pretty early on, so that was the first major project. The farm dome was, or the Trome was actually next. The farm dome happened after that. If I really wanted to, I could put together a timeline of the construction of Josiania, the Cliff House, and all that, but I really don't feel like it right now. We'll see how I feel when I actually put together the video. But yeah, I figured I might as well also just show off some of the netherite mining and just show you the scale of that whole operation. Because that, to put it simply, was just insane. I think this is the underwater section of the base, or the cave section. I don't remember where the entrance for my netherite mine was. I think if I just follow the quartz. No. I'm gonna take a look for the entrance because I had quite the large mine set aside. This was all set up because we didn't have a unified nether transport network for a while. So we just used this as like a sort of landmark system to find each other's portals until we did set one aside. But yeah, I'm gonna quickly take a short, or I guess cut out a section, whatever, and then come back once I find the netherite mines, because they were, for lack of a better way to put it, just absolutely fucking insane, and you'd think I'm delusional for mining that much. Alright, so this is one of the sections. I would use pickaxes with like haste and just carve out entire large sections of the nether. And then eventually I just started doing TNT mining like this because I needed quartz, blackstone, netherite, and I would use any netherrack that I got to make nether bricks. And this isn't even close to the only mine that I had, or the most, I guess, damaging. I think this is actually when I was just looking for netherite for equipment before I decided on the beacon, which is why there's so much quartz and other stuff, even though I used a lot of that. There should be an exit somewhere around here, because this was, where the entrance was. Yes, here we go. Or not. But yeah, this is pretty much, I think, the perfect example of just, oh yeah, I went right past it earlier, of what happens when I'm left, I guess, just unattended for like, I think at this point I was just kind of a year later or 2 years later that I finally decided to do that. And then when the server ended up just kind of dying, we replaced it with another one. And that was really the end of the expansion of this base. But yeah, I might go over some of the other bases that were done in the future. It's the wrong way. And I might just not, because I'm probably gonna forget about this whole thing until once I upload the video. But I feel like this base is just kind of like one that I keep coming back to when I think about it, and just start thinking about Minecraft bases and just my history and love just building obnoxiously large underwater bases. This is just an overview of the whole thing with shaders and a mod that allows you to just extend your render distance forever. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Jesus Christ, that was 40 minutes of fucking... Yep, I belong in an insane asylum. 40 minutes of going over a Minecraft base on a dead server. Yeah. No, I'm just... Hopefully you enjoyed. If you didn't, why the fuck are you still here? But yeah, this was fun to look back on. I put end crystals up here. I'm surprised nobody punched one or shot an arrow at one. And then these bridges, none of them were real. Only one was ever actually finished, because I only ever finished one section of tunnel on that level. Yeah, that layer. I never showed the observation room, now that I think about it. Because this, I realized it was kind of a dead end, and there was nothing over here. So I just kind of used this as a small observation room. It's built above the trome. This just abruptly ends, because I didn't have any ideas of what to build. Yeah, if I ever actually did a Minecraft playthrough or something, this would be the kind of base that you'd probably see if I got far enough to do it. It has multiple conduits just to make sure I don't die. I didn't really ever build an automatic kelp farm, which is probably going to sound a little stupid, but I never really built an automatic kelp farm because I never really needed one. I just go out and mine kelp, or yeah, go out and break a bunch of kelp, collect it, and then throw it all down here in these not quite automated smelters. I don't remember what I was going to do with that. I never turned the HUD back on, but... Oh, that was like put shulker boxes of stone in, and they just become smooth stone. This is my furnace room, as you can probably tell. I just throw a bunch of kelp in here, make dried kelp, and use the blocks. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. I don't know what to call this, base overview or something. Delusional rambling about an unfinished project from someone with way too much time on his hands. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. If not, why are you still here? If you want to leave a like and subscribe, go ahead. But yeah, this was kind of fun to look back on. A little bit of a sort of nostalgia trip to when I was only ever employed part-time and not in college and didn't have as many bills to pay. Oh, that was going to be the Joe Luxury Resort Islands. I never really did anything here, but I had a plan for him. Anyway, yeah, I think that's enough of that. I'm gonna go touch grass now.